The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman.
What is up? Welcome in to yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts for free on the iHeartRadio app, or you're that person that wanted to put a face to the voice and you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for coming and doing so here on that platform. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Write in the comment section what you love about me. Write in the comment section what you hate about me. Maybe there's a take that I just said a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, or maybe even tonight, that just fires you up. Let me know in the comment section. I will interact with you. If you comment, I will see it. I will interact with you, and I promise I will be as polite as possible. But remember, fragile ego, not so sure if I can handle all your hate sometimes. That's a joke. I have no feelings, and things will always be just cherry picking in Ben Garcia Show land. It is a good time to talk with you guys. You guys can tell if you're listening or watching on YouTube. You can see we are not at the iHeartRadio studios. There's not a big boom mic right here that I'm talking to. There's not all the extravagance in the background. We are a meat and potatoes show. You guys are in my apartment. I decided you guys are like family to me. I'm just going to invite you guys in. I'm just going to bring work home. My wife wasn't thrilled about it, and, you know, that happens. We're going to work that through in our marriage, but you give and take. That is what marriage is all about. But either way, jam-packed show for you guys. I warned you, things could get weird, and it's getting weird. You're in the apartment. It's a new studio setup. We'll see if we can make it better. Today on the show, we're going to talk some college football playoff. People were just outraged by what happened to Florida State, or people were like, you know what, they got it right. We will discuss that. Brock Purdy, he's the MVP, right? Brock Purdy, MVP favorite. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We will also get into a blockbuster of a game this week between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. So with that being said, let's get started with our top story of the podcast, the college football playoff. So on Sunday, the college football playoff committee did something that was just insanity. The college football playoff committee decided we are smarter than you. We don't care the games you played. We don't care that you're undefeated. We don't care that you're a conference champion in the Power 5. And in fact, the committee said just that. They said, you know what? You can be an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. It just doesn't matter. We just don't care. You will not get in the college football playoff. That is just pure insanity to me. So there's two things that I want to take from this. One, let's start there. We'll get to the second thing in just a moment. If you can be an undefeated Power 5 conference champion after just putting in Cincinnati 2 years ago, who was undefeated as well in a conference that was less than ideal, or last year when the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs, Sonny Dykes, Max Duggan and company, went in to the Big 12 championship game undefeated, and then completely wet the bed against Kansas State, and you let them in, and you just decide we're not going to let in a team that went undefeated in the Power 5. So first off, it didn't make any sense just right off the bat. You have set a standard before that these teams will get in, but now you're reversing the standard and saying, yeah, we're not so sure how we feel about that. Listen, I'll agree with you. Alabama is absolutely better, at least on paper, than Florida State. But that's not why we play the games. If we are just going to predetermine the teams every year, and I had a problem with this last year. Last year, they didn't even care that Ohio State didn't make their conference championship game. They just decided, we're going to put in Ohio State. Screw USC. We're putting in Ohio State. We're going to punish USC for making its conference championship game and losing, I might add, and not put in them and instead put in Ohio State, because even though Ohio State missed their conference championship game. It was just egregious to me. But now you're telling the fan base of Florida State, the team of Florida State, Mike Norvell and company, yeah, you can control your own destiny. You can win every single game. You can win the conference championship. You can beat LSU. You can go into Gainesville and beat Florida. You're not getting in. All because of your quarterback. So there's two arguments I'll make to that. Cardale Jones and the Ohio State Buckeyes, a few years ago, lost JT Barrett. Forgot the other quarterback they lost. Lost both their quarterbacks on their third-string quarterback. Went in, mopped the floor with Alabama, won the college football playoff. So I don't understand. Why are you predetermining things? That is the beauty of sports. If we don't let things play out, then what is the point? The college football playoff should be for the most deserving teams. If you want to just go best teams, then why play conference championship games? Why even play the season? Just predetermine the best four teams in the beginning of the season. None of it makes sense to me. Oftentimes, in the NBA and the NFL and the MLB, we just saw that this year. The Arizona Diamondbacks were not the best team in the National League. It's probably the Atlanta Braves. But oftentimes, the best team doesn't always make it to the championship. Look at the NBA. I promise you, the Boston Celtics would have been a better matchup against the Denver Nuggets, whether they would have won it or not. They would have been a better matchup. What if the NBA just decided, we know the Miami Heat won a best of 7. We know they took a commanding 3-0 lead, but we're just going to put Boston into play, the Nuggets, because it'd be a better TV product. Because that's essentially what they did. Imagine if a few years ago, when the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, they just decided, when Carson Wentz tore his ACL, and they just decided, Philadelphia Eagles, number 1 seed, that's not great. We had a conference championship that featured Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles, and Tom Brady. I bet if I showed you the picture of Nick Foles, Tom Brady, Case Keenum, and whoever it was I didn't say, Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Tom Brady, and Case Keenum, if I showed you that picture of those 4 quarterbacks from Super Bowl 52, I believe, if I showed you the picture with Tom Brady, Nick Foles, Blake Bortles, and Case Keenum, you would have easily said and put your life payment on it that Tom Brady won that Super Bowl. And if we had a college football playoff committee that decided that would have happened. That's not what happened in sports. It's just, I was doing a radio show earlier today with The Drive with Joe Diego. I'm the executive producer on that show. You can catch me on that show if you are here in Phoenix on Fox Sports 9, 10 a.m. from 6 to 10 a.m. And Jody, the host of the show, said, these are the types of teams that movies are made about. Teams like Florida State. So you cannot just decide Florida State doesn't deserve it because they lost their quarterback. That's stupid. To all the other kids on that program. Alabama, you can absolutely say Alabama is the better team, but the more deserving team was Florida State. Jordan Travis said it perfectly. I should have broke my leg sooner to show what they could do. That's a heartbreaking statement, but he's absolutely right. It's just not fair, and it's not at all correct. People will say, oh, life's not fair. No, life's not fair when you don't get a job because the son of the dad that runs the company gets the job over you. That's nepotism. That's not fair. When you see the college football playoff committee say, oh, if you go undefeated and you win your conference championship, yeah, we'll put you in. We saw that with Cincinnati a couple of years ago. Hell, TCU didn't even do it, and they still put him in. That's a problem. It's absolutely ludicrous to me that Alabama decided to get in because they beat Georgia. An SEC that was not that great this year. The SEC wasn't very good. The SEC was the third best conference this year, behind the Big Ten and the Pac-12. I don't think that just should decide everything. Well, it's the SEC. Got to have the SEC in. If that's the case, okay, then just plan that the SEC, Big Ten, and that's it's going to be there. Put 4 teams from each conference in there every year, and then everyone else can kind of duke it out. And we'll figure out between them. But don't even let anyone else play. Just predetermine it. I absolutely, again, believe Alabama is the better team. The right choice, the more deserving choice, was Florida State, and it's not close. And that brings me to the next point. The ACC is officially dead. The College Football Playoff Committee destroyed any sense of possibility that the ACC could actually work ever again. If Clemson and Florida State in this conference just are being told now, you can't get in, even if you have an undefeated season and win your conference championship game, you can't get in. Why would Clemson and Florida State stay in that conference? They're going to bolt for the SEC the second they can. Because why wouldn't they? If they are playing in a rigged carnival football game that is college football, why in the world would they stay? College Football Playoff Committee killed the SEC today. Sorry, the ACC today. They absolutely killed the ACC. They decided that it doesn't matter. You can win every game you want. You can win the conference championship game. Power 5, doesn't matter. You're not getting in. Because we believe that our analytics and our computer told us Alabama's better. Okay, well, if that's the case, then just put 8 teams in every year. Because the most deserving teams tend to win championships. And I go back as early as this year. The Miami Heat made it to the championship. Probably not the best team. The Arizona Diamondbacks, my team, made the World Series this year. Not the best team. But oftentimes the best teams don't make championships. And the College Football Playoff Committee decided that. And not only did they decide that, but they crushed the ACC as well. Clemson and Florida State and UNC and Duke basketball are going to get together in a room collectively and say, what are we supposed to do? Can't even get in it even if we tried. Imagine if this was Duke. They went undefeated in football. ACC championship, didn't get in. Their only chance to get in over the past however many years. It's a rigged carnival game. It's ridiculous. The College Football Playoff Committee got it wrong. They got it wrong. You can say, well, at least we don't have to watch a slaughter fest. Like, wasn't this the same people hammering the table for Cincinnati 2 years ago, who we all knew was going to get slaughtered against Alabama? If we're going to rig things for TV products, just be open about it. And that's what they did this weekend. And they killed the ACC along with it. If the ACC, Clemson and Florida State know that they can go undefeated and be a conference champion and they cannot get in the college football playoff, they're leaving. They're bolting for the SEC as soon as they can. And the College Football Playoff Committee, the NCAA, are themselves to blame. No one else. Why do I have to be the only consistent voice of reason when it comes to quarterbacks like Brock Purdy, quarterbacks like Dak Prescott? Brock Purdy for MVP is an egregiously bad take. So when I see the betting markets, I think it's plus 300 right now for Brock Purdy. I don't get it. Brock Purdy was good yesterday. He was sharp. He was accurate. Brock Purdy is a very good quarterback in the NFL. Brock Purdy is probably somewhere between the 9 to 12 range when it comes to quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not better than CJ Stroud. He's not better than Trevor Lawrence. He's not better than Patrick Mahomes. He's not better than Josh Allen. He's not better than Lamar Jackson. He's not better than Jalen Hurts. He's not better than Josh Allen. He's not better than Justin Herbert. These are just 8 quarterbacks off the top of my head that he is undoubtedly not better than. But if you want to tell me Brock Purdy's a 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range quarterback, I won't fight you. Brock Purdy was sharp. He was accurate. He's obviously very smart. Come on. Brock Purdy for MVP is just absolutely crazy at this point. Brock Purdy for MVP makes 0 sense. So we just saw what the San Francisco 49ers were with Jimmy G at quarterback. Jimmy G at quarterback with the San Francisco 49ers. Super Bowl, 2 NFC Championship games. Brock Purdy is not the most valuable player on his own team. And if we're just going through valuable on the offensive side, he's not one of the 3 most valuable people. And if you include Kyle Shanahan, he's not one of the 4 most valuable people on his own team. It'll probably go CMC, Trent Williams, Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy. That is how the hierarchy goes for the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy is sharp. He's a good quarterback. He is obviously incredibly smart, and he's obviously a hard worker, and given the circumstances that he had, came from Iowa State, Mr. Irrelevant, deserves a ton of praise. MVP is an egregiously bad take, and it just doesn't make zero sense. There's zero validity to it. It doesn't make any coherent sense to me. We just saw recently how the 49ers did with a different quarterback in the helm, Jimmy G, who we can all agree at this point, probably a middle-of-the-pack quarterback at best. How do you watch yesterday's game and think, wow, Brock Purdy, that Brock Purdy is so valuable? It's not what I got from the game. What I got from the game yesterday was, wow, Brock Purdy, he's really smart. He's a capable quarterback. He obviously knows what he's doing, knows the playbook, super smart guy. There wasn't any of that where I said, Brock Purdy, man, the most valuable to the San Francisco 49ers. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how you look at it and think that. I don't know how you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who should be the MVP favorite, and think Brock Purdy's more valuable than that guy. Brock Purdy is more valuable to the San Francisco 49ers than Patrick Mahomes is. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl last year with Juju Smith-Schuster, who is doing Stugatz with the New England Patriots right now as his number 1 wide receiver. And now this year, Travis Kelce is completely hobbled. He's not the same tight end he used to be, and people want to argue that Brock Purdy is more valuable than him. If you're just saying stats, okay, then I guess the best player with the best stats should win the award. Even though it's called the most valuable player award, let's just give it to the player who has the best stats. Let's just give it to the most outstanding player. And if we want to do that, then sure. But don't try to argue with me that Brock Purdy is more valuable than Patrick Mahomes. Don't try to argue with me that Brock Purdy is more valuable than CJ Stroud, because it's just not true. The Houston Texans last year were in the dumpster before CJ Stroud. What happens when they get CJ Stroud? Oh, I don't know. They're a viable playoff team vying for the AFC South. They were picked at the beginning of the season to have the 2nd worst record behind only the Arizona Cardinals. That was their prediction. That's what people thought of CJ Stroud. He comes out, lights it up. He is not only smashing their over-under win total, but they just might be a playoff team under CJ Stroud. So if we're just talking valuable, where's the value in Brock Purdy? Oh, he's number 1 passer rating. He's number 1 in yards. He's number 1 in touchdowns. Not a lot of picks. Okay. So is it just stats? Is that the only thing that makes Brock Purdy valuable? Because last year, in 11 games with Jimmy G, with an offense that didn't have Christian McCaffrey yet, through 11 games, so only 2 games with Christian McCaffrey, Jimmy G, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks, 103 passer rating, a 68% completion percentage, if I'm not mistaken. And you mean to tell me it's all Brock Purdy now? You mean to tell me Jimmy G last year was 2,400 yards. Jimmy G, let me rephrase that. Jimmy G in 11 starts last year. So we only got 2 in the 3rd game with Christian McCaffrey until Christian McCaffrey got injured. Until Jimmy Garoppolo got injured. 2,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks, 103 passer rating. Jimmy G was spinning it last year. And now you're telling me that the reason the 49ers are really good now is because of Brock Purdy, and solely because of Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy is the most valuable player. What happened? And Niners fans will point to this is a dumb take. Well, what is take Kelce away from Mahomes? What is he? Oh, I don't know, a Super Bowl champion. He won a Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster. That's just stupid. Brock Purdy, we saw when he just had Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams was out, Deebo Samuel was out. What were they? They went 0-3. He's not the most valuable player on his own team. Losing to the fourth-string quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Losing to Kirk Cousins. That is not excusable. You can't just look at that and say it was really valuable. I promise you, you take away Rashee Rice, or you take away, I don't know, Kadarius Toney, Kansas City Chiefs are still beating the Cleveland Browns and P.J. Walker. Because Patrick Mahomes is valuable. If stats are the only thing that matter to you, then it's not a valuable award. We have that award. It's called Offensive Player of the Year. So don't try to argue with me that with identical stats, Patrick Mahomes this year, with less than ideal Travis Kelce, who has consistently hobbled this year and has not been the same player, 3,100 yards, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 95 passer rating, and an 8-4 record. And who knows? Might just go to the AFC Championship again because that's all he does. Brock Purdy, 3,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 116 passer rating with, I don't know, Brandon Ayuk, probably one of the best number 2 wide receivers in football. Jawan Jennings has been very good. George Kittle, a top 5 tight end in football. Deebo Samuel, a top 10 wide receiver in football. Trent Williams, the best left tackle in football. And I don't know, the best offensive play caller, best schematically offensive coach, second to only Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan. So you mean to tell me that the years before Brock Purdy got there with a quarterback in Jimmy G, who made the Super Bowl and who made 2 NFC championship games, that now, it's just Brock Purdy. It's only Brock Purdy that is running the show. He's the reason why this train goes. That makes no sense. The most valuable player in this league is not Brock Purdy. I'd take CJ Stroud over him. I'd take his teammate CMC over him. I'd take Patrick Mahomes in a heartbeat, who is throwing 2 lawn deck chairs and a hobbled Travis Kelce to an 8-4 record. And if you're betting money, you're probably going to bet Patrick Mahomes to make it to the AFC Conference Championship game. And heck, I hate to say it, but Dak Prescott is a more viable MVP candidate than Brock Purdy. I don't care about your stats because it's not just him. Don't tell me yesterday that when Deebo Samuel is breaking tackles for 2 50-yard plus touchdown receptions, 40 yards after the catch, that it's Brock Purdy. Because it's just not. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. He is sharp. He knows the playbook. He puts the ball where it needs to be, and he keeps it out of harm's way. He is somewhere between the 9 to 12 range in the NFL. He's not better than Trevor Lawrence. He's not better than C.J. Stroud. He's not better than Lamar Jackson. He's not better than Josh Allen. He's not better than Patrick Mahomes. He's not better than Joe Burrow. He's not better than Jalen Hurts. And him and Dak Prescott are neck and neck. And that's just a harsh reality for Niner fans to deal with because they don't want to be told that. Because this time last year, they were telling us how good Jimmy G was and Jimmy GQ and how he's going to lead them to the promised land. It's the same thing every single year. So I'm not going to fall for it this year like I haven't for every other year. Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, CMC, Tyreek Hill, hell, even Dak Prescott are all ahead in the MVP conversation along with Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy. And I don't think it's particularly close. This is the part of the program where I need to talk about a team that I have been standing all year in the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have some explaining to do. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do with the Philadelphia Eagles. I simply don't have a lot of things prepared from what I watched yesterday because they're awesome situationally, and there's just some things that you can say about the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can just say this. Well, it's not excuses, or maybe it is a little. They're more so reasons. Let's think of why the Philadelphia Eagles just didn't show up. That was absolutely the 49ers Super Bowl. They had that game circled on their calendar for weeks on end. The linebacker core, the Eagles, ravaged by injuries. Dallas Goedert is still injured. And Jalen Hurts looks a little hobbled right now. As well as, this was like their 3rd game in 12 days. They played the Bills and played an extra quarter. Go check the stats. Teams that play an overtime game the week before don't tend to fare very well the following week. So all those things, right? And that's on the Eagles. Don't go to overtime with the Bills. Take care of business in the regulation. But these are all things that can contribute to the Philadelphia Eagles losing yesterday. And it's kind of, to me, I don't know what to do with them right now. I genuinely do believe the Eagles are still going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to win it. It is just a crapshoot right now. And honestly, I don't say the Eagles to the Super Bowl with much conviction. But it's just a different team right now. It looks like, to me, personally, the Philadelphia Eagles really miss Jonathan Gannon and they really miss Shane Steichen. Because last year, James Bradbury was playing better. Darius Slay was playing better. They had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the secondary. As well. And it just looks really clunky right now. Kevin Byard has not really fared as well as they wanted him to when they brought him over at the trade deadline. The secondary is still weak. You can't really bank on Shaquille Leonard that he's going to somehow have a renaissance in Philadelphia because he just hasn't been that guy since he got extended by the Indianapolis Colts. And for me, it's, do I believe in Jalen Hurts? Do I believe in this offense? Because they have a ton of talent. And situationally, they just win games. They can get blown out. We saw that yesterday. But if you're asking me to give up on the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm just not going to right now. I just can't. I just simply can't give up on the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a team with playoff wins, playoff pedigree, with an elite quarterback who has played like it, especially when he's down in games. Remember I gave you the stats last week? 10-0 when going down, obviously now 10-1 going down in the second half. Overtime, over 100 passer rating, no interceptions, 10 touchdowns. Really good up until last week, Jalen Hurts. The running backs, the running game is still going. The offensive line is still really good. The wide receiver is really good. The X factor is that secondary. Because if that pass rush could not generate enough pressure to the quarterback, the Eagles' secondary is just all but cooked. And that's kind of the issue that we see here. So now I look ahead to Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles this week. You're asking me to bet against the Philadelphia Eagles, but not only just bet against the Philadelphia Eagles, you're telling me in the same breath that I need to bet on Dak Prescott, who has notorious not been good in big games, 2 playoff wins in his career, never had multiple playoff wins in the same year, never been to an NFC Championship game, and this is like year 8. It's like betting on Kirk Cousins. I'm not betting on the Philadelphia Eagles to win this week. I'm betting against the Indianapolis Colts winning this. I'm not betting on the Philadelphia Eagles to win this week. I'm betting against the Dallas Cowboys to win this week. I'm betting against Dak Prescott. I'm betting against Mike McCarthy, who isn't great with time management. I'm betting against Dak Prescott, who is not great in big games. 2 playoff wins in his career in the playoffs. No wins. No. What am I trying to say? No. What am I saying? No playoff wins. No 2 playoff wins. Never won multiple playoff games in the same year. I am absolutely drawing a blank right there. That was a just severe brain fart. CeeDee Lamb as well. I love him, but you're dependent on Dak Prescott to win this game. And we saw it against the Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys a couple of weeks ago. You can just always bet against the Dallas Cowboys. You can always just bet on the Dallas Cowboys to do something completely boneheaded. Maybe it's constant penalties. Maybe it's Dak Prescott stepping out of bounds. Maybe it's just squandering opportunity after opportunity in the red zone. I believe they had 3 red zone opportunities, none of which they cashed in Philly. This game's going to be in Jerry World. So, yes, home field advantage for the Dallas Cowboys where they played really well. But we just saw the Dallas Cowboys play and get their first win against a winning team this year in the Seattle Seahawks. We saw what happened. It was a really close game. So it's going to be different. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to come to fight in this game. The Philadelphia Eagles are not going to lay down. They're not going to look at the Dallas Cowboys with their tail between their legs after getting their butts handed to them against the San Francisco 49ers last week. They're going to be ready for this game. And if there's I don't have a strong feeling either way in this game, but if I have to pick this game, I have to bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm sorry. If I have to bet on this game, I'm not betting on the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm betting against the Dallas Cowboys because I can always count on the Dallas Cowboys in big games to crumble in the moment. I expect Dak Prescott to be pretty good until there needs to be a huge play made. Again, maybe he steps out of bounds. Maybe he throws a crucial pick like he did in the playoffs last year to Fred Warner or the other cornerback on the 49ers last year when he was aiming for CeeDee Lamb to the left side of the field. I can always bet on Mike McCarthy with boneheaded clock management. I can always bet on somewhat undisciplined football in these big games. It's harsh reality. But until the Dallas Cowboys prove to me for a long period of time in the playoffs, in big games, that they are good enough to not only win these games, but to put teams to bed when they can, that's when I'll believe in the Dallas Cowboys. So although the Philadelphia Eagles are struggling, and they are limping, and they are hurt, and they are coming off their worst game of the season after getting blown out, I expect them to come with their tails not between their legs. I expect them to come in with their hair on fire. I expect them to play one of their best games of the season. And if they do win this game, they'll take complete control of the NFC East. They will at least have one home playoff game. And after that, it's mostly decent sailing from there. And I personally do still believe in the Philadelphia Eagles. I still think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. I still think they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys this week. And I think it's just not fair for me to completely pile on the Eagles after they've won multiple one-possession games, after they've been great situationally. However, there are some red flags here. We saw the Minnesota Vikings last year. We saw the Minnesota Vikings go 11-0 in one-score games. It was an NFL record. Boom, one and done in the playoffs. So, if you're asking me to pick something in this game, I'm going to bet on Jalen Hurts, the absolute gamer, to make something happen out of nothing. I'm going to bet on the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles to dominate the line of scrimmage. I'm going to bet on the wide receivers of the Philadelphia Eagles to manhandle the Dallas Cowboys cornerbacks and Deron Bland, who got lit up last week. So we'll see how that goes. Stephon Gilmore, a little bit older. I will also bet against the Dallas Cowboys. I will always bet against the Dallas Cowboys. Not because I'm a hater, because they don't show up in big games, because I can count on boneheaded clock management from Mike McCarthy, because I can count on Dak Prescott to not make the play, the signature moment in the season. They will always just be 1 foot short of the Philadelphia Eagles until they prove it to me that they're not anymore. This is dating back to the Carson Wentz days when Carson Wentz used to run circles around them. Carson Wentz, of all people. I can bet on Dak Prescott to step out of bounds on a crucial 2-point conversion or a crucial touchdown. I can bet on Mike McCarthy to have boneheaded play calling late in games that results in poor time management. I can bet on dumb, stupid penalties from the Dallas Cowboys. And I can bet on arrogance. I can bet on that they see the Eagles limping into this game and saying, we got him in Jerry World. It's over. We're going to win this game. Anything can happen. But if I'm picking a winner in this game, and you're not sure who you're going to pick, you're not sure what side you're going to go with, maybe you're in a survivor pool. These are the last 2 teams left. Pick the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't bet on the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game. Bet on the Dallas Cowboys to lose yet another big, everyone's watching game. It's the Kirk Cousins effect. So until the Dallas Cowboys prove to me that they can show up in the biggest moments and continue to chip away at that NFC East lead, I'm going to bet on the Dallas Cowboys to screw it up. So with that being said, bet on you don't need to bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. Bet against the Dallas Cowboys. So for that reason, I expect the Philadelphia Eagles to come out and win this week. That is all for the Ben Garcia Show today. Thank you so much for making this a part of your day, whether you're listening on iHeartRadio app, for free on there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube. You like the new setup? Tell me what you think. Tell me what I could do to add. Listen, I'm not the most creative guy when it comes to backgrounds. I just give you spicy, hot takes, and you tell me what you think of them. But if there's something better I can do in the background, just let me know. If maybe you don't like the apartment feel, the homey vibe, me inviting you guys into my domain, maybe we switch it up, we go back to the studio. But either way, it has been awesome chatting with you guys. A little bit of a shorter show this week. We're trying out a few things. We'll get back to our normally scheduled program next week. Thank you so much for making this a part of your day. And until next week, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.